If you had told me 30 days ago that 90% of the population was ordered to stay in their homes, begging for martial law, I would have told you it's impossible. Fast forward to today, when there is talk of canceling physical elections, a ramp-up in the internet control, including a Soros-funded billion-dollar plan to re-educate people. Well, now that we are all virtual prisoners, we can only believe what we see on the screen, with no accountability. Let's take the example of the elections, something now everyone is passionate about since 2016. Trump's only shot at re-election is a complete halt to the spread of COVID-19 and a V-shaped recovery in the stock market. And it doesn't look like those two things are possible. Anyway, Democrats have rallied behind corrupt, pedophile, partisan, creepy Joe Biden as their candidate. All respect to the guy, he's old and has major dementia, so there's no campaigning, only what we see on the screen. As Lenin said and wrote in the Soviet Operations Manual, in politics, if you are accused of something, immediately accuse your opponent of the same. We see Democrats doing this just as Lenin said. Hillary Clinton was involved in a corrupt, pay-to-play Uranium One scandal involving Russia's biggest energy companies, controlled by the government, which is basically one person, Putin. The maker of the electronic voting system we will likely use has been tested in the Democratic primaries and produced bad results for Bernie and inflated results of establishment candidates. The name of this system is called Shadow. The deep state was previously called the shadow government because they are unelected and operate under classified secrecy. Who does the shadow government answer to? Not Trump, that's for sure. The Democrats and Republicans, not including Trump, such as Bill Clinton, both George Bushes, Barack Hussein Obama, also known as Barry Soetoro, and all other presidents, congressmen, with rare exceptions such as Donald Trump, Ron Paul, and a few others, have completely sold out our country to the highest bidder. It's not a conspiracy theory. The word conspiracy theory was invented by the CIA to discredit factual alternatives to JFK's murder. The constitutional United States ceased to exist on November 22, 1963, when a military coup was staged against legitimately elected JFK. Who pulled the trigger is not really the point. It was organized by JFK's enemies, who included some of the most powerful organizations in the world, including the CIA. Around this time, the CIA implemented plans such as Project Mockingbird, wherein mainstream media like CNN, ABC, NBC, and others have CIA-trained operatives in the editorial department who approve all news before it gets aired. In addition to that, they create daily talking points, which the reporters parrot over and over, like mockingbirds. This is still in operation today, led by the most prominent mockingbird, Anderson Cooper, son of elite Vanderbilt oligarchs. The Democrats accused Trump of receiving help from Russia in the 2016 election, as well as being Putin's puppet, because that's exactly what Hillary Clinton was. If you don't believe it, Google about Uranium One and how it violated U.S. nuclear control policies in order to enrich themselves at the cost of national security. So when they failed to win in 2016, a deep state disinformation campaign had to be launched, so no one would look into these high crimes and misdemeanors perpetrated by the Democrats. But the key here is we shouldn't worry about the Democrats. They are just political sleazebags. It's the power and security they sold to foreign agents, whether it be Israel, India, the Rothschilds, or Canadians like Frank Giustra. Or how about domestic players like Jeff Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, the largest contributor to the Hillary Clinton campaign, running blackmail pedo networks through Democratic politicians like Clinton, Biden, and Obama. They vowed in 2016 to take over the White House by any means necessary. Fast forward to present, where campaigning and elections have been canceled. We are to believe what we see on the screen. But as many have pointed out with the deep fake phenomenon, it's easy for computers to generate a real, lifelike image of anyone, including voice speech. In fact, the military has had this technology for over 20 years. DARPA has one of the most high-tech research and development units in the world. In-Q-Tel, the venture fund of the CIA, invests millions in high-tech gadgets involving security, artificial intelligence, mind control, and related technologies. Can you imagine a scenario where there are electronic elections managed by the shadow system, whereby Joe Biden wins in a landslide? For all we know, he died in October or was whisked away to a safe house in Switzerland to live out his last days in pedo paradise with false credentials. But the videos and speeches continue to be manufactured. Here we are describing a real virtual dictatorship, managed by unknown anonymous actors, backed by dark, unknown groups. We can only speculate who would be pulling the strings at that time, and it would be easy for them to protect themselves from being caught once Joe Biden, in air quotes, is in the White House. Many of us have seen the movie Dave, where an average guy who looks like the president takes over real responsibilities due to the real president being incapacitated temporarily. His handlers in this scenario aren't staging a coup, they're trying to cover for the president until he recovers, to avoid political fallout. They are trying to protect him. But what about this proposed scenario? In other words, how are voters to know what's really going on when we're all trapped in our virtual prisons, our homes, and we get information by the government-controlled sources? Already the government has started saying not to trust unreliable sources, but who is the judge of what is reliable and what is not? Big Brother and the virtual dictatorship, managed by Jeff Bezos, George Soros, Bill Gates, Russian-born Sergey Brin, and other leftist radicals who share in similar political ideas. One of the most scary of those ideals is population reduction, with the goal of reversing climate change. By the way, climate change is artificially manufactured by the same deep state that's trying to reverse it via aerial spraying programs, microwave blasts, tectonic weapons, and other weather modification technologies. So being an eco-terrorist and reducing the population in order to save the Earth is either very naive or completely evil. You think these people are normal like you and me? George Soros, or actually Georgi Schwartz, before the family name change, was rumored to rat out his Jewish cousins to the Nazis for a mighty sum and a ticket to London. We know what happened to his Jewish cousins. The reality of this is less dramatic, involving the local Jewish council and difficult decisions that everyone had to make at the time. However, it's just one of many stories that paint a picture of someone who will do anything for a buck. It's hard for us in the West to understand how someone in East Europe and Asia could sell their child's kidney or the entire child in order to buy an iPhone. But the majority of the world has no values. America was founded by God-loving Judeo-Christians who accept all types and cherish concepts like freedom, democracy, capitalism, and picnics. But any open society should be concerned about those who do not share the same values, who might use the open society to exploit it and conquer it. This may be what we are seeing now. In the virtual dictatorship, it would be easy for the leading junta to target authors who don't speak the party line by sending a SWAT team to them claiming they have coronavirus, giving them a fake test which they are positive, and hauling them off to FEMA camps where they actually get coronavirus and die. With a virtual dictatorship, the shadow government would rise from the shadows and actually seize the power. It's no coincidence that the new voting system tested in the Democratic primaries is called shadow. This is the moment they have been planning for years. But again, this is a scenario. Just because Operation Virtual Dictatorship is enacted doesn't mean it will happen. COVID-19 can be stopped by the quarantine measures. Trump could find the coup plotters and arrest them for treason. There are a number of ways it could be thwarted. It's just for online conversation, to get us thinking. We're all now trapped in our houses, soon under legal orders. We rely on big companies like Amazon and the US government to service our needs and give us information. There is an obvious conflict here. Communism is the New Age religion, which is by itself an anti-religion. Traditional religion is forbidden under communism. As Marx said, religion is the opiate of the masses, so it should be banned. But liberalism is in fact masquerading as communism and appeals to millions in the USA, such as the Bernie Bros and the other naive youths who are lured by the false promises such a system proposes. Socialism is great until you realize how much it costs, in other words, 90% of your paycheck, and the real return on your work time is constantly diminishing. As the old Soviet joke goes, you cannot pay me less than I can work. My high school world history teacher called this the diminishing cake pan theory. Is this what we really want in America? Communist dictatorship run by unknown partisans, potentially Soviet Union citizen and educated Sergey Brin? Google has already been found guilty of manipulating results in favor of leftist radicals, and uses the obscenity excuse to muzzle conservatives and Republicans of all kinds. If you think Sergey Brin is just another American success story, why has Peter Thiel written President Trump begging him to look into Google's transfer of technology, specifically artificial intelligence, to the communist Chinese? Let's make a few observations about the situation that we're in now. First, Commercial air traffic, including private planes, has come to a near halt. Second, cities are emptied. Third, some states have implemented movement controls. Military plans have been enacted, including the Defense Production Act. Warlord, which includes continuity of government plans such as Granite Shadow. China has accused the U.S. Army of releasing coronavirus in China. 6 states are in lockdown in the USA. More than 70 million are trapped in their homes. The only people with freedom of movement in the USA are the government and medical workers authorized by the government. Does anyone find it interesting that ultra-liberal billionaires that want to sell U.S. assets, resources, and political power to other countries are named Georgi Schwartz and Sergey Brin? It's well known in the intelligence community that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent engaged in blackmail operations. What is less known is there is a rumor that he was a double agent for the Russian FSB. That's a new name for the KGB. Considering how Epstein was the original investor in the Clinton Foundation, a huge donor, and played a big role in the foundation, should it not be considered that the Clintons were actually puppets of Putin? Let's just consider it for a moment, because under Lenin's playbook, the rule is accuse your enemy of exactly what you are doing. What are the material facts of Uranium-1? Hillary Clinton sold 20% of America's uranium to Russia, and then the Russian government gave $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. Former FBI Director and Special Counsel Robert Mueller delivered it. And that's just what we discovered. Clearly, as in the case of Joe Biden, this isn't the only corrupt instance of liberals selling state assets, including strategic military assets like uranium, to foreign individuals. In fact, with the CIA, these grafters have made a business out of it. Joe Biden was the anointed sleaze king of Ukraine, where billions of dollars went missing to Swiss bank accounts, and records were destroyed. The reason we bring up the Clintons, because this is all part of the same organization. Here's where we defend the Democratic Party. 80% of Democrats don't believe any of these facts because they are real believers in a religious sense. They worship without asking questions. Faith is belief without knowledge. In that environment, facts become irrelevant. When Democrats see facts they don't like, they create a website like factcheck.org to wrongly dispute true facts. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party, not including Trump, have been hijacked by this loosely associated Illuminati elite. They, in air quotes, are not so organized, and they have competing agendas. But Operation COVID-19 is going as planned. If we look at this from a political perspective, this is the third coup attempt of a populist, legitimately elected president, perhaps the last one, before capitalism and democracy are a footnote in history. The global elite meet once a year and discuss the fate of the world. Look at what last year's topics were, in order of importance. Number 1. A stable strategic order. Translation: New World Order, One World Government, Communist. Number 2. What next for Europe? Translation: the EU isn't working, so what do we do? Number 3. Climate change and sustainability. Translation: BS political tool to garner interest from young liberals who have bleeding hearts for the planet, while making a buck selling carbon credits to idiots who believe that climate change is due to cars and factories. Number 4. China. Translation: need we say more? They discussed China in depth. Number 5. Russia. Translation: again, need we say more? Russia has a deal with China. Number 6. The future of capitalism. Translation: this topic used to be, is capitalism relevant? But the rename is still eerily creepy. Number 7. Brexit. Translation: need we say more? The globalists do not want Brexit. Number 8. The ethics of artificial intelligence. Translation: how they will use AI as a social control paradigm. Number 9. The weaponization of social media. Translation: they are pouring billions into social media manipulation. We're all staying at home, remember? Number 10. The importance of space. Translation: skies are clear of commercial planes. What's going on beyond those artificial clouds they're spraying? Number 11. Cyber threats. Translation: in other words, how to make cyber threats. We are seeing this agenda play out now, and it's leading towards virtual dictatorship. Let's not call it communism, let's call it virtual dictatorship, because it's managed online. Everyone is in their home, and decisions are made by a group of non-elected czars or oligarchs, including foreigners. In a rare and frank interview with J.R. Nyquist, which is a must-watch for those who want an intellectual background on what is unfolding, he makes an interesting comparison to the fall of the Roman Empire and what's unfolding now. Christianity took hold in Roman middle and upper-class households, mostly in urban areas. It was not a group of peasants, as some claim. In fact, the Latin translation of pagan means uneducated country dweller, or our modern term, redneck. It seems that patriots, those who believe America should be put first, are the rednecks, while the liberal radicals tease us about how stupid we are, out of anger for not being able to erode our culture and sell our souls for a few shekels. In the story of Rome, finally, it was the Christians that overwhelmed the Romans in a massive demographic shift of the world that continues to this day. Judeo-Christian culture is the dominant culture of the world. Is this balkanization of America that many talk about really just a global demographic shift, fueled and funded by the establishment, the global elite, Bill Gates, George Soros, and friends? They envision a world where there is one company, Microsoft, that sells software. Monopoly is the name of the game. It's where they all agree. Small business should be crushed. And in 30 days of home imprisonment, it will be. Amazon may double or triple in size, as it will be necessary to continue the operation of the United States. Existential questions will trump the monopoly issue, as capitalism evolves quickly into survival fascism. America has fought wars against communism and fascism in order to live free and trade on markets. In the past 2 weeks, due to circumstances, we've shifted in the opposite direction. When companies start going bankrupt, people will beg for the U.S. government to step in and buy GE, for example. GE is critical infrastructure that can't be let to collapse. As the Fed pumps more quantitative easing into equity markets, the Fed can end up owning a big piece of the economy of the USA. Trump is smart enough to call this a private-public partnership. But what it is? Fascism. Now people are begging for it. No one questions it. Let's just get this coronavirus solved and we'll go back to normal, they think. But the reality is, we're not going back to normal. For our own sake, Trump is not going to abuse this situation. But he's not going to be the dictator should this model come to fruition. It's going to be the Russia clique, as we should really be calling them. Brennan, Obama, Clinton, Gates, Sergey Brin, David Rothschild, Georgi Schwartz, and certainly others who have yet to reveal themselves publicly.